what's up? It's me, your favorite internet roommate.
And pretty recently, we lost the legendary figure Akira Toriyama, the creator of Dragon Ball. Which personally for me was very surreal and kind of a coming back to earth moment. I don't know why, but there was always this mystique to Toriyama. I always saw him as like this ethereal being that he can't die. So hearing that he died felt very unbelievable and a reminder that he's human just like any of us. And as a huge fan of his work, I really appreciated seeing all over social media just people talking about how much effect his work had on them. The cultural impact of Dragon Ball alone, it unequivocally changed the world. Other massively influential art wouldn't exist without Dragon Ball. A huge portion of anime fans wouldn't exist without Dragon Ball. And that, of course, also goes for your boy. That's right, before I was Internet Pitstop, I was Goku Pitstop. And today I want to do a tribute to my love for Dragon Ball. But that doesn't mean that this video is going to be like completely emotionally charged, as what Dragon Ball gave to me was a very joyful, positive experience. And so with this tribute, much like Dragon Ball, I want to uplift my own and hopefully your spirits as well. So we can all just reminisce about how great this series was and how it all affected us all. And while there's a lot that you can say about the plot and specific moments of Dragon Ball, my focus isn't gonna be on like the story or the characters in specific. I'm not even gonna talk about how stunning and jaw-dropping some of the fights can be. Instead, I want to talk about the experience of growing up as a Dragon Ball fan, both on the internet and off the internet, and how the essence of the series and the themes affected me personally, as I think that is the best way in a video to memorialize what this series means to me. And I hope that it'll be a great way to say thank you, Akira Toriyama. Okay, so when it comes to the timeline of being a Dragon Ball fan, there's only one place you can really start, and that's right at the beginning. If we're breaking this up in sagas, you gotta start with the gush, the nostalgia. Oh, so the first time I saw Dragon Ball is, I've told this story quite a few times. In fact, I'm just going to show you an anime flashback from an older video where I explained it pretty well. Okay, now which video was that? Oh, there it is. Whee! You see, I was bred from birth as a Dragon Ball fan. I came out my mom's womb, you know, all epic and shit. And then the doctor was like, hey, Mama IP, you're really strong, you pulled through and whatnot. And I was like, strong? Can she beat Goku, though? I literally do not remember a time in my life that I did not know what Dragon Ball was. My older brother exposed to me the whimsical beauty of Dragon Ball at such an early age that I now can't even remember being like, whoa, what is this? What is that? Why does that boy have a tail and can lift cars? And why do I keep seeing his dick? But I do remember one of the earliest memories of watching it was when I got these random VHS tapes of various anime. Provided to me by, of course, older brother Hand-Me-Downs Incorporated. And I was an idiot kid who didn't know how to fast forward on the buggy spaceship that was our VHS player. So I would just eagerly watch all these previews and commercials that I barely remember just to get to the fun-ass time of joyously singing along to And that opening just did so much for my little brain back then, man. The feelings of adventure and whimsy. Like, that gave me the Ghibli vibes before I even knew what Ghibli was. It truly captured how enchanting the Dragon Ball world itself is. It's a world that simultaneously has these beautiful old-timey countrysides while also having super futuristic cities. A world where dinosaurs still fucking exist while also having futuristic cars and robots. Somehow this opening captured all that magic. If I wasn't constantly, watching the show as it aired on Toonami while discussing it with my friends the next day, I would be playing the almost yearly released great-ass games. Or I was playing with my Dragon Ball toys, doing exactly what any brain-dead Dragon Ball fan does, once again rehashing the plot of Dragon Ball, but just with my toys now. But using other toys as like proxies for characters that I didn't have. Like I had Goku, I had Krillin, but this was my Trunks, you know what I'm saying? And if I wasn't doing all that, I was outside with the other kids in my apartment complex playing imaginary Dragon Ball, where you spend an hour just deciding who gets to be Goku and then the rest play fighting and shooting fake beams at each other and shit. When you were in class and you didn't feel like doing the work, you were either drawing Jordans that you couldn't afford, or you were drawing Goku. Really, a lot of the most nostalgic, joyful experiences in my childhood were because of Dragon Ball. But listen, wearing the badge of a Dragon Ball stan isn't all, sunshine, monkeys, and rainbows, okay? I want y'all to understand just how much of a disgusting, vile, putrid, just smelly human being I was when it came to simping for this series. The way I was gargling Dragon Ball's Will you guys suck my off until I come? I'm not saying that. I don't know why that's in the script. Might be time to grow up. The way I was standing this series, defending it with all my life and honor, I would make Drake fans, Aubrey's Angels, look tame in comparison. Because when you're obsessed with Dragon Ball, it is then your destiny to become easily one of the worst type of human beings you can be in society. A DBZ fanboy. I don't say these words lightly. I was toxic, okay? I'm not talking like the cool Dragon Ball fans who just work out a lot and pray to Goku every night. For starters, when it comes to anime, I was a Dragon Ball watcher only. To me, any other anime was just other versions of Dragon Ball that I didn't want to spend my time with. There was Ninja Dragon Ball, there was Pirate Dragon Ball, there was Dragon Ball with swords. Naruto Shippuden came out and I said, I don't give a damn about Boruto's dad. I'm watching that Gohan and Mr. Robot filler. Again. I basically said, get that weak shit out of here, and ooh, is that multiple viewings of Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z, and Dragon Ball GT? Yes, please, more. Before it was a meme, I was a can he beat Goku though kid. But not only did I watch Dragon Ball for pure enjoyment, I also watched it so I could pick up on more trivia and lore, so that I could flex my power and knowledge over other casual Dragon Ball fans, mere mortals, Moris. I don't know, at the time I thought that knowing more about Dragon Ball than someone else made me cooler or a bigger, fuck. I was a piece of shit, man. Y'all are lucky I grew up. This channel would be very different. I remember this one time a girl had told me she was into Dragon Ball, which, she probably just meant casually, just to start a conversation or something. But unfortunately for this poor girl, she was talking to me. Because at that time, when someone would try to tell me they like Dragon Ball and me being, Goku-brained? Hey, it's me, Goku! Oh, no, that isn't getting through. So I responded in the totally normal and, casual way.
Yeah, fucking right. You're just a fake casual. I didn't even know that these brothers named 3 Gokus.
Basically, I 100% speed ran, scaring the hose. If you're watching this, my bad. You didn't deserve that. I've grown up. I'm sorry. She's probably not watching this.
Cause she's a fake.
Now thinking about it, was she trying to flirt with me? I did it all. I debated on countless comment sections, wasting weeks of my sad existence because it affected me so much that Death Battle would dare say, Goku, my father, Goku, the Holy Spirit Goku, would lose to Superman. What? Huh? Exactly how you'd imagine it. Keyboard warrior, heavy breathing, just... Well, actually, Goku is considerably stronger because if you take the power scaling of X, add that to power of 2, and add into the fact that Goku is, for sure, possibly multiverse. If anyone dared to besmirch the name of Dragon Ball, there I was, rushing to cape for my king. And look, even though I definitely got carried away with my fanboyism, even now, as a recovering Dragon Ball fanboy, I still hold this series in a really special place in my heart. I don't think I am who I am today without Dragon Ball. The series had such an impact on me in sometimes even the smallest of ways. I used to tell the kids in my apartment complex that I knew karate. I didn't, and then later on I got in a little fight with this other kid. I'm not really sure why. He probably took my dark magician or some shit. And I had cred. I had an image to maintain, okay? I had to show to my peers that I did know karate. So when it was time for me to square up, I hit him with the... Shit, I remember getting in a fight in middle school. If you don't know the lore, in middle school, I was like trying to get away from my nerdiness. I gave up on it. But during this fight, which, not gonna lie, I was cooking. I was making bro look real bad. Started crying and being really upset, and he still wanted to fight. And I could have been a menace and hit him with the, the Kid Buu emo and, beat his ass some more. But once again, that Goku in my head, he wouldn't let that happen. Internally, all I could think was, God, no, I have to stop. I went too far. I've overused my power. That Goku in my brain that I was shutting off was telling me I went too far, and I felt bad for the guy. And the way I ended it was even on some Dragon Ball shit. Basically, I hit him with the... You're not worth my time anymore. Because you gotta understand, Goku was my anime dad. If I could wish for anything growing up, it would be to be Goku. A girl in middle school told me once that if you make a wish at 11:11, it'll come true. And you bet your ass I went home that night, waited till that 11:11 hit, and yeah, I wish to be Goku. What? Suck my dick. Like even to this day, before I go on a run, I'm hitting that. And why? 'Cause Goku, okay? Yeah. No, I'm not the only one. I'm just the first to admit it, okay? But I also think in my pursuit of trying to be Goku, I genuinely think that it made me a better person in some ways. Whenever I would do something wrong or hurt someone's feelings, I had that voice in the back of my head reminding me to just remember to be kinder. Why? Because Goku. Goku was kind, so I wanted to be kind. I remember when I saw that episode of when Goku first got the Nimbus and he could only ride it because he was so pure-hearted. And that made me feel like, damn, like I want to be kinder and more pure and like just a better person so that maybe I could ride the Nimbus, I think a lot of those feelings and lessons are still with me in my adulthood. Like that whole training arc that Roshi put Goku and Krillin through are episodes I constantly think about. And while you probably won't catch me running around delivering milk, but the teachings of Master Roshi, the lessons, they hit me even back then. And I was a little ass kid, and these episodes had me thinking about life and shit. But now as an adult, more than ever do I catch myself saying to myself, work hard, study well, and eat and sleep plenty. And to this day, I remember tearing up a little as I saw that final airing of like the last episode of Dragon Ball GT, knowing like this was it in terms of like official Dragon Ball content. And while I was sad that it was over, it's actually after this that begins the era of Dragon Ball fandom that I'm actually the most nostalgic for. y'all would just allow me a moment of your time to help me out here. I didn't want to do like a sponsor for this video because it was so personal and it felt weird to be like, hey, check out Raid Shadow Legends. So after trying a few things, just decided that I would use this time to just shout out the Patreon. Won't take too much of your time, but if you genuinely enjoy what I do, a great way to help me keep the lights on and keep making content in general is just, you can do it as little as 3 beans on Patreon. Making videos like this is kind of hard, it takes a lot of time, so, you know, it's not as, like, consistent. And that's where Patreon helps immensely by helping me keep afloat. It gives me the time to be able to edit my videos as much as I want and even make the videos that I want. If any of that genuinely sounds interesting to you, I'd appreciate it if you join. If not, don't sweat it, it's cool. Thanks for being a fan. You can get back to your video now. So there's this era of Dragon Ball fandom that the fans have kind of coined the drought era. Basically, after GT, the series had finished, you know, it pieced out, and pretty much from here till Battle of Gods, it was a long-ass time, we had no new substantial Dragon Ball content. But the weird thing is, even though there was no new Dragon Ball content for such a long amount of time, the Dragon Ball fandom continued to live on. And this drought era is what I want to focus on for pretty much the rest of this video. Now, one of the main things that kept Dragon Ball fans fed during this time period was the games. When we weren't trying to do Kamehamehas alone in our room or rewatching that episode where Gohan teaches Videl how to use energy and then stupidly spending hours trying to do it ourselves, or screaming our lungs out trying to become Super Saiyan before we shit ourselves. Shout out to Super Saiyan Jalen the GOAT. When we weren't watching Dragon Ball again and again and again on watchdragonball.tv, real ones know, one of the other things we were doing was playing the pretty much yearly released games. Now, I already did a video on the Budokai and the Tenkaichi series and why they're so important, so I won't rehash that here. But just know, these games are super vital to not just my childhood, but Dragon Ball fandom. I have cried watching that Budokai 3 opening, man. Like, I will forever cherish the memories I've made playing all these games with friends. That's just how you settled arguments. Not with words, but with beam clashes. I definitely had friendships that started because maybe I was speaking a little too loud about how good I was at these games and better than everyone else, and they said, you know, you're not better than me, and then we go and we ran the ones. Because every kid who owned a PS2, which was every kid, also owned a copy of Tenkaichi 3. But even on a more grand scale, there is a huge portion of Dragon Ball fans who first experienced the entire story of Dragon Ball through the Budokai series. These games are to me the gold standard of anime arena fighters that other future anime arena fighters would take influence from. But again, since I've already made that video, I want to cover other Dragon Ball games that are maybe a little bit more underrated and not spoken about enough. Another series that is probably almost as nostalgic as the Budokai series to me was the Legacy of Goku games. These games were just such a fun, comfy time, for the most part. And the second one might be a top 5 Dragon Ball game ever. These games allowed you to experience the Dragon Ball series on a little handheld, as an RPG. And look, I'll admit, the first one, kinda ass. And also one of like the hardest games I've ever played. If you thought Millennia was tough, let me raise you a level 1 dog in this game. If I never learned the Solar Flare meta, I probably never would have beat this game. Real Dragon Ball stans have etched in their brain that super compressed sound of Goku like dying. And then it goes to him like as an angel flying. But don't get me started on the hundreds of hours I spent on my bed on a school night playing Legacy of Goku 2 and Boo's Fury. And don't get me wrong, they also had their ass-pulling hair moments too, fuck this dinosaur mission. But just being able to explore the entirety of the Dragon Ball world was so special. What other game allows you to stand on the very top of Kami's Lookout? Or lets you chill on that cool-ass couch in Master Roshi's house? And there's so many cool little side quests you get to do where you get to fight like movie characters and stuff. Basically, this was Kakarot before Kakarot. And don't even get me started on this damn OST. For one, they had a bunch of remixed versions of the Bruce Falconer tracks, which every Dragon Ball fan, despite all the, totally serious and adult arguments of can Tien beat Krillin, can Goku beat COVID, can Shaggy beat Gohan Blanco, one thing we can all agree on is that Cell theme, which isn't a remix, la 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 la, I'm not listening, it's not a remix, la 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 la, fucking slaps. There's a lot of great OSTs in this game. Maybe I'll talk about it more if I ever make like a video on the Legacy of Goku series, but for sure one of my favorites is Goku's Home. I've used this OST in a bunch of my videos. I know I'm going to use it here. You've probably heard it a few times now. And there's so many more. We got a lot of great Dragon Ball games during this drought era. Like, we were eaten. Infinite World was basically a remastered, kind of updated Budokai 3, but with like a bunch of extra cool new shit. Like the cool little mini games they had. Oh, and also, this game was fucking hard for like no reason. Those Kid Buu and Omega Shenron fights gave me fucking nightmares. First Limit was another kind of updated, kind of Budokai-esque game, but it was fucking goated. I think pretty much any Dragon Ball fan is still sad at the fact that we never got a sequel to this game. Sagas? Sagas! And one of my favorites that I still feel is super underrated was on the GBA, Dragon Ball Advanced and Adventure. This was a game that solely focused on the Dragon Ball era of the series, pretty much from the beginning to the King Piccolo arc. Not enough people talk about it. It's a super fun, like, side-scrolling beat-em-up game. And it even had these boss fights where it was just basically a 1v1 kind of dual fight thing, which were some of my favorite moments. Being able to fight Jackie Chun and Krillin during the tournament arcs was so cool to experience that on a little handheld. It's a super fun game. If you haven't played it, then I highly advise you just go fucking be a pirate. Fucking steal that shit. Take it right off the internet. Have fun.
The One Piece is real!
But if you were a kid like me, you didn't have what some kids would call an allowance. To us, an allowance was just, you get one video game a year for your birthday, and that's kind of it. Which, of course, for us was always whatever Dragon Ball game that might have came out that year. But the thing is, once you finish that, what the fuck were you gonna do after that, Which might have led you to going online and playing some Dragon Ball Online games. Real ones definitely remember Dragon Ball Z Kart. And some of y'all might have known that before Fighters, we had Dragon Ball Flash Dimension. But while these are important to Dragon Ball fandom at this time, the reason I bring them up is to kind of segue into the next important thing that kept Dragon Ball fans fed during the drought. Because those games weren't made by these huge teams and companies, they were made by fans. Which leads me to our final saga. Fan-made content. Again, if you were a Dragon Ball fan during this drought era, you were taking any kind of Dragon Ball content you could get. But once even that well ran out, some Dragon Ball fans just basically started doing their own content. And look, there's a lot of things to talk about. I can't hit them all. You had fan forums, you had like a bunch of little infighting over dumb shit. Before I was really even on the internet, my older brother was telling me about the great Ocean Dub versus Funimation Dub war. There was just this whole section of these Dragon Ball fans who, both of them liked Dragon Ball, yet were having this civil war because one of them preferred a, shittier dub, and then the other one liked the one that was a better dub. That's gonna. But I want to focus on the things that I was there for and I got to experience. When I think of like the origin of Dragon Ball fan-made content on the internet, I think of us testosterone-starved Dragon Ball fans just looking for any cloudy, happy, smiley Goku in the sky to give us some hope. I can't help but think of a very pixelated, zoomed-in picture. This. Now what you're looking at is what a lot of fans thought was Super Saiyan 5 Goku. Now what this really was just a OC, a fan-made character that was drawn by David Montel Franco. No different than how a lot of kids drew their Sonic OC, But what David never saw coming, and really probably no one ever would have seen coming, is that this single image would pretty much be the catalyst to a whole new subculture in the Dragon Ball fandom. If you know the lore, then you know this single image was keeping us alive. life. Because it's old internet, misinformation is everywhere. People saw this image and genuinely thought that a new Dragon Ball series was coming out called Dragon Ball AF, and this was a new form of Goku. Like, imagine your Sonic OC just changing the entire landscape of the entire Sonic fandom. That's what this image did. For one, it had other Dragon Ball fans starting to make their own OCs and new, like ideas for what Super Saiyan 6 and 7 and all these other forms would look like. And again, people just thought they were real, like this was actually gonna happen. You had a million losers just like me waiting for our parents' slow-ass computer to load up a single res picture of Krillin as a Super Saiyan 4. Just going on Google, your jaw to the floor as you're seeing Super Saiyan 5, Super Saiyan 6, 7, 8, Super Saiyan 10, like what even the fuck is that? I saw Super Saiyan 1 million, this hair was taking up the entire image, I was hyped. I saw that and said, that's gonna be me someday, watch. Searching these images on Google or watching those old ass videos which were just slideshows of these images with like, they all use like the same 3 songs. I'm probably playing one right now. That was a universal Dragon Ball fan experience, a canon event. Some of these photos still live in my head rent free. This red hair Gotenks, this image of Vegatrunks, this Super Saiyan Raditz went triple platinum in the fandom. This shitty edit of Kid Buu with Super Saiyan hair. Though I'll still stand on the fact that this Tien goes unbelievably hard. Shout out Tien the Goat on Instagram. Everything about this stuff just screams the time period. The bring me to life music, the way these characters were designed, basically the spikier they were, the more badass they were. And I really want to stress the views. That's how you know how big Dragon Ball AF was. This video is literally just like a shittily edited Goku with some paint to make his hair red and, make his mouth move and stuff. 9.9 million, like what? Also, side note, this video is fucking scary. Imagine like your parents walking in on you watching this. Have a few candles around and it looks like you're trying to fucking summon Moloch. What up, gang? If I could condense Dragon Ball fandom at this time into a single meme, a single video, it would be this.
No, amigo, esa es la... like open doors.
And again, because there was so much information, you had people who actually believed that Dragon Ball AF was coming. Like, no, dude, AF is definitely coming out. My uncle's second cousin's mom's neighbor's dog, who works at Nintendo, he definitely confirmed that shit, bro. He confirmed that shit, type shit. But what's cool is, even though it wasn't real, there was a lot of fans who just went ahead and started making their own version of Dragon Ball AF, mangas and art all over the internet. Again, because people loved Dragon Ball, they wanted more of it, they just started making their own version of it. Versions with plot lines about Goku's blood being used to make like a sort of son that's like half Saiyan, half demon, and his name is, it's fucking Zykor, because of course his name is fucking Zykor, has an X in it. That's cool. And if the idea of a single image creating so much misinformation that it makes a whole subculture of stories, characters, manga, animation, what's even more crazy is that one of those people that was making those fake Dragon Ball AF mangas would then go on to actually work with Toriyama on Dragon Ball Super. But also another part of fan-made content that can't be understated for how important it is to the Dragon Ball fandom, especially during this drought, was of course YouTube. When I think of that first era of YouTube content, I think of silly cat videos, silly baby videos, and of course, AMVs. AMVs are really the first wave of anime content on YouTube, and most of them were Dragon Ball AMVs. And these are so important to being a Dragon Ball fan at this time.
It starts with
One thing, I don't know why. It doesn't even matter how hard you try.
As we all know, Soulja Boy invented music, but a little bit after that, we had this little indie band. Maybe you never heard of them. Linkin Park. Linkin Park basically made the soundtrack to all these AMVs. I remember my brother bringing me into his room to show me some cool shit, and it was this DBZ In the End by Linkin Park AMV. And my mind was blown. Just seeing high Dragon Ball action, very shitty quality, with the backdrop of Linkin Park music, that legit is what got me into music. I wasn't really like listening to music like that until AMVs. And that's how I found about other bands too. Besides Linkin Park, you had 3 Days Grace and Skillet, which were bands that were constantly used for their music on these Dragon Ball Z AMVs. If you were a huge fan of these, you too might have then loaded up that Windows Movie Maker and start making your own AMVs. I remember making this like Goku tribute AMV where I used the song Indestructible by Disturbed, and I had this moment right before the beat drops of that song. I kind of let the music cut out and I just have this section where Goku is just screaming and the beat drops. Bro, I was sitting there like, cinema. Cinema. If you weren't there, then you don't understand just how impactful to the Dragon Ball community some of these were. That 3 Days Grace Pain AMV that opens with like Vegeta getting shot by the Death Beam. Hood classic. This Bon Jovi It's My Life AMV where the characters are like powering up in sync with the music. Hood classic. I know that there are fans out there that if I ask them, hey, you remember that Dragon Ball Z Kryptonite AMV? They will respond with, oh, you mean that one that starts with the scene from the BoJack movie where Gohan's walking with all this goddamn aura looking cool as shit, and then as the guitar stings, you hear Gohan screaming. Cinema! And look, if you're interested in hearing me talk more about AMVs, I actually made a whole video on that a long ass time ago. So there's that if you want it. And throughout this drought era, there were so many other little subcultures on YouTube making Dragon Ball content. I think one of the most probably obvious and impactful to the community and Dragon Ball as a whole that would change the fandom forever is obviously Team 4-Star. I think we have a significant amount of new Dragon Ball fans because of Abridged. And again, they came during this drought era, so it was a perfect time. We needed more Dragon Ball, and they were giving us a version. I know I wasn't the only one waiting for these Abridged episodes to come out. Like, I was waiting for the actual Dragon Ball Z episodes to come out. TFS gave us so many years of great laughs and one-liners. Just another way to enjoy Dragon Ball again. And I genuinely want to thank them for going out of their way to basically say, hey, there's no new Dragon Ball content, I'm gonna do it myself, you know? That takes bravery to just try to do that, and I'm so glad that they did. But if you were a Dragon Ball stan like me, you were going down that rabbit hole. You were in the deepest parts of hell, just searching for any kind of Dragon Ball content you could find. For example, a channel that some Dragon Ball fans may remember is Omega 2040. What the guy's content was at the time was basically either top 10s of like special or ultimate attacks from Tenkaichi 3 or other Dragon Ball games, or these like moveset breakdowns where he would just take a character from one of the games and just kind of do commentary of their specific moveset. Just a dude commentating over Dragon Ball footage, but like, look at these views. And the thumbnails aren't even trying to coax you to come watch the video. They're probably stock thumbnails. I want to thank this dude so much for creating these. This kept me fed as a Dragon Ball fan during this time. Real Dragon Ball stans were watching Omega 2040, best believe. Because that's the thing, there were so many like even micro communities that were making content based off Dragon Ball. I'd be interested to know if there was anyone that remembers Pivot. For those who don't know, Pivot is a program that mainly uses stick figures. Imagine it's sort of like having a bunch of different keyframes to make a full-on animation, but mostly you're working with stick figures. So of course, those in the Dragon Ball community took this program and made a bunch of Dragon Ball shit with it. And while definitely more niche than the other stuff I've talked about, this was a pretty big community with a bunch of different artists that were making these animations. But one of the biggest ones at the time, and one that I would call a legend, was Pivot Pro 333. This dude was a god at creating these Pivot Dragon Ball Z videos. Just look at this. He really had this talent at capturing the speed and velocity of a Dragon Ball fight. And he even did Gogeta vs. Broly before the movie. And if you ever check out his videos, they pretty much have the complete essence of YouTube in that era. The music that is used in these videos is the typical music you'd see in a DBZ AMV. One of them, I think, I even remember having Bring Me to Life by Evanescence. You had these little moments where there was like a really strong impact hit on the character, and then like little words would come up on the screen that say some shit like Nutcracker or 1 + 1 = 5 now. Even the fucking titles scream YouTube of that era. The most awesome pivot fight in the world. The most uber pivot fight in the galaxy, the most insane pivot fight in the universe, epic pivot fight in the multiverse. And much like the AMVs, I too got this program and started making my own little pivot animations. I remember getting my boy Bubba into it, and he started making his own little pivot animations. It was a cool whole little thing in the community. Unfortunately, Pivot Pro 333 stopped making videos, so we never got the full-on end to this series. So from what I remember, I think he had to focus on college, so he didn't have as much time to really work on them anymore. And back then, as a kid watching it, I'm pretty sure I was like, what a fucking idiot. Who cares about college? Work on the, you know? But obviously now, as an adult, you know, I still don't understand. Finish the series. But if you think this is niche, again, I am a Dragon Ball stan. I was looking for anything, the deepest levels of Dragon Ball content. Let me tell y'all about this very unique form of making Dragon Ball fanfiction. So at this time on YouTube, there were these basically Dragon Ball fanfics using Budokai Tenkaichi 3 and a few other games. The way it would work is like this. They would, you know, record footage with a capture card or such of Dragon Ball game footage. Then they would use most of the time text subtitles as like the way the characters would speak, and they would make a whole storyline, and of course they'd use some editing skills to make the fights look a little more interesting than what the game can do itself. Imagine Red versus Blue, but with no budget. And one of the most important creators of these type of things is the legend BLSCC4. When it comes to this kind of stuff, this guy was pretty huge in the community. As you can see, one of his biggest videos having about 200,000 views, which is pretty crazy for the kind of content it is. These type of videos had a community, and it was giving me something that was Dragon Ball, but you know, when we didn't have Dragon Ball. And of course, no surprise, you're seeing a pattern. I also made my own series like this. It was on my old YouTube channel, which is now deleted because I think I looked back at those videos and kind of felt embarrassed, so I got rid of them. Kind of wish I did it so I could show y'all, especially because I barely remember any of the plot lines or anything I was doing on that story. I'm pretty sure I was like 12 years old, so I'm sure the writing was impeccable and just Pulitzer worthy. I do remember one thing though, and that is the title. I titled my series Dragon Ball NR, which stood for Not Real, because it's not the real story of Dragon Ball, it's my... I know. And as a 12-year-old kid, best believe I didn't have any money for a fucking capture card. So I just stacked a bunch of shoe boxes and I put my old ass like 2002 camera on that shit and just recorded the TV screen with all the Tenkaichi 3 footage. Then later I would edit it on Windows Movie Maker. I remember my older brother taught me that on Windows Movie Maker you can do like this fade technique, which lets you like kind of like transition things. And then I used that technique to like have a character fly from one location to the next. I thought I opened a gate to another fucking world. My third eye was awakened. I felt like I could see the whole Matrix when I did that shit. And I even had my good friend who's been on the channel, Bubba, help me a lot through the way of making that series. He would basically play player 2 to kind of help me set up all the little interactions and stuff. But the reason I appreciate that so much is because that was a big early part of like me and Bubba's friendship, which is, I don't know, it's just a real fond thing to look back at. And forgive me for like touching on these parts of the Dragon Ball fandom that probably barely any of you actually remember. But I do think they're all important as like this vassal of what the Dragon Ball fandom was at this time. It's a showing of that resilience that even when the series was gone, we as a community made our own art and even made our own version of Dragon Ball to keep it alive. This video is super personal to me, obviously, and I wanted to hit all these things that were part of my childhood growing up with Dragon Ball. And I guess the other reason that I mention all these is when I started doing this YouTube thing, it was kind of like this dream that I started chasing. Now I'm, living and doing full time. And while I was doing it, researching stuff, writing scripts, editing, it's like I started realizing that, man, I love making shit. I love being creative. I love tapping into creativity and making something cool. And then I started kind of looking back in my past, like, why didn't I do this sooner? Maybe I wasn't creative back then? But then when I start to think back, I've always been and enjoyed being creative and making things. And all those times as a kid that I was doing things that were creative, they were all Dragon Ball related. I made AMVs, I made pivot animations, I made these type of fanfiction videos too. I was writing plot lines, character arcs, and learning how to edit just because I fucked with Dragon Ball and I wanted more content, so I just decided to make my own. Being a fan of Dragon Ball helped me find those avenues to be creative. And it took me until now to realize that I've always loved being creative and making things. And here I am doing it full time, but I don't think I would have got there without Dragon Ball. Because aside from just wanting to make more Dragon Ball stuff because I liked Dragon Ball, I don't think I would have had the courage to put myself out there and try. A lot of times when I write scripts, I tend to try to dig real deep into my emotions and kind of find the heart of what I'm trying to say. And when you're chipping at the soul like that, you tend to find out things about yourself. Going back to that opening that wowed me so much as a kid, the lyrics that really struck a chord with me, the lines that really got me were, "So let's try to seize the day. When it came to these lyrics, as a kid, they weren't hitting me back then. I wasn't thinking all these things about these lyrics back then. It was only recently when I heard this opening, I had this emotional reaction to hearing these specific lines. That moment when you get goosebumps and you start to tear up a little? And I couldn't understand why. Why were these lyrics so effective? And then through doing analysis, through looking back at those points in my life on why Dragon Ball helped me, where it helped me, I was then able to understand why these lyrics mattered to me. It's because that was the most important theme and lesson that Dragon Ball instilled in me and helped me throughout my life. The theme of always trying. No matter the odds, you always give it a try. Master Roshi dressed as Jackie Chun to defeat Goku so he wouldn't get complacent. He wanted Goku to always think there's someone out there stronger than him and to always try. You could easily take the whole fighting aspect out of that and just take that theme of always trying, even if it seems difficult, even if it seems impossible. That theme of always trying, no matter the odds, is what gave me confidence and helped me stand tall. Because of those themes, because Goku always tried, that made me try to make friends, even though I was scared to go up to someone and talk to them. Because growing up in the hot-ass desert of Arizona as a Bosnian kid, I always had this innate feeling of otherness, like I was weird or different from everyone else. I always felt like I didn't fit in and people could just tell I was weird. And with that, I feared putting myself out there to, try to talk to someone and try to make a friend. But the thing that helped me connect to people was Dragon Ball. When I was scared of going up to someone and trying to make a new friend, I remembered seeing Goku, no matter the odds, always try. And it gave me courage. It motivated me to step out of that comfort zone and try. And I'll tell you right now, no matter what background that kid came from, one thing we had in common was that we both fucked with Dragon Ball. After that, it was immediate connection, immediate friendship. You know, I'd be in the vicinity, I'd make a little cheeky little, you know, just in case kind of reference where, like, you know, I wouldn't get flamed for it in case, like, you know, they thought I was weird or some shit. And then when I noticed that they caught the reference, when they knew what I was talking about, it's like we gave each other this look, that knowing look. And after that, I was scared as that 12-year-old kid trying to make those videos of Dragon Ball. I thought people would make fun of me. But again, I remember that theme. I remember Goku trying. And I tried. And as the lyrics say, you try to seize the day and make new friends along the way. That's what happened. I made friends along the way because I tried. I made videos I'm proud of and now do YouTube full time because I tried. And even though I didn't make any like super close online friends through those Dragon Ball communities, it was still nice to feel a part of something. Feel like a part of this grand, huge community. Now, I'm not saying that all these things are bound to happen just because you try, but you at least have to. Instead of wasting your whole life thinking, what if? Better to just know you staked everything you could on it and you gave it your best. So with that, I just want to say, rest in peace, and thank you so much, Akira Toriyama, for all your great work that I love. I mean, look at my PFP. And also, thank you to Dragon Ball for not only putting me on to anime itself, but for also reminding me to always try to seize the day.
あなたの作られたドラゴンボールがなければ、今の悟空やここにいる者たちの成長や出会いはなかった。すべてはたった一個のドラゴンボールから始まった。
And before I end this, because this is the Dragon Ball video, I want to give a shout out to a bunch of Dragon Ball anime YouTubers that are still making great shit today that I look up to, I watch their videos, I love them, and I just want to thank them. I gotta give a shout out to Geekdom 101 for constantly giving so much knowledge on this series. For a good while, I was watching this guy's videos, and he was this credible source I could always go to when it came to Dragon Ball lore. You got Karthus Dojo, who probably makes some of the best analysis content on Dragon Ball that there is. Check out his Goku Morality video, it's its peak. Totally Not Mark is your guy for Dragon Ball video essays. Like, you can always count on a great video coming from him. And I gotta give a shout out to some of the most important creators to me personally, Rhyme Style, Dada Doya, and the GOAT C-Reacts, also known as the Three Idiots. These dudes will make you laugh and smile just by grunting a lot and using a bunch of edited sound effects. Like, I'm sure I've watched a video where they're just like playing Dragon Ball games and they're literally just grunting and using edited sound. It's hilarious. I'm not saying that's all their stuff, but it's just funny that some of their videos can just do that, and it's hilarious. It's a good time. But whether it's Xenoverse, Tenkaichi 3, Tenkaichi 4 or Fighters. These dudes will always deliver on really amazing good times and just positive vibes that you can watch. To me, watching the Three Idiots videos legit feels like watching Saturday morning cartoons, but like, you know, you're an adult now, which is amazing that they're able to capture that vibe in their videos. So thank y'all. I don't know if y'all will see this, but thank y'all for making that. Also, side note, shout out to one of the best podcasts to ever exist, Everyday Beam Struggle. I mean, it's in the name. It wouldn't exist without Dragon Ball, so thank you for making that shit, because I love that podcast. Much like me, I am sure these people have so much to thank from Dragon Ball for allowing them to find their own avenues to be creative and make a livelihood out of it. But I also think with all these YouTubers, fan fiction writers, artists, are genuinely all a part of why Dragon Ball is still alive and popular today. I don't think Dragon Ball is as popular as it is today without, one, the creators who were making the stuff during that drought era, and the creators who are still making the stuff now, keeping the name and image alive. While they all were inspired to make content because of Dragon Ball, I also see them all as vital to Dragon Ball's popularity, and that they lended their energy to the spirit bomb that is Dragon Ball. Thank you all so much for deciding to light your bonfire here on this little corner of the internet. Leave a comment about your nostalgia with Dragon Ball and what it means to you. And of course, if you like what you saw today, you can give me a like and a subscribe. I'll always appreciate that. And once again, the best way you can support your boy is on Patreon. Again, as little as 3 beans if you want to help your boy out. Or if you're a complete insane person like these people you see here, you can join my highest tier on Patreon, which if you do, you get a pixel art character that will show up at the end of all my videos. And real quick, we got a few new ones, so I want to announce them all. First up here, we have the GOAT, known as Magi. For his character, he got Andy, with no pants, of course, and he's wielding Nagumo's weapon from Sakamoto days. One of the only pixel art characters we have that has an actual sensor on it, which I think is pretty cool. Next up, we got Dracojewel, who basically just sent in his OC, which just kind of has this vampire cowboy kind of vibe, and I think it came out really cool and amazing. I could totally see this pixel art character being like a OC for a cool indie game. Then we got Jaeger here, who his character was based off some of the coolest 90s anime characters ever, kind of mixing Spike Spiegel and Vash the Stampede to give you this. I think it came out really cool. Awesome idea. Then we got Life on Saturn Comics, who put Psyduck on Saturn with a little astronaut helmet. Really cute. I fuck with it. Then we got Moist Sephiroth. My bad if I pronounced that wrong. And for his character, he just got a really cool pixel art version of Sephiroth. I think it came out great. Once again, if you want one of these characters chilling at the end of all the videos and sometimes in the middle here and there, feel free to join my Patreon at the highest tier. Yeah. But with all that being said, thank you so much for coming to this little pit stop on the corner of the internet. Peace.